fantastic film. We've all, it's RunPeep, we've all watched it, and we all love it. It's amazing. So, where did the connection go? I mean, Joelle, you've written it, and with Alexander, David's trying to get back in. Alexander, yeah? You two guys wrote it. What gave you the impetus to do it? Hi, David. Welcome back. I think we can hear each other now.
Yes, I'm good.
Right, brilliant. Okay. So what gave you the spur to write this?
We were in film school together, and we started doing small projects. We did a previous short film, and after we did that one, we started talking about just life. You're getting older and everything, and we talked about like beauty and how our society just puts so much pressure on everybody, and we perpetuate this, right? And just those standards of beauty, and just wanted to do something about that. So anyway, there was a genesis of an idea, and again, we've said this at every film festival. It was a process that lasted 15 years.
Wow.
Life took us in different directions, but we always came back to it. And I have to say that Alex really, he stuck to it. If this film was done at all, it was really because of him, and then, he'll tell you the story about his mom and everything. And we just somehow just brought those two stories together, and then you have Happy Face. But I'll give him an opportunity to talk about the experience.
Yeah, I've been, it's the same, my same old sob story, Rob. Because the genesis came, as Joelle said, it crystallized in film school, after film school. But originally, I grew up with a single mom, and she had breast cancer. Mm-hmm. And this was a woman who was very attractive and who worked in the cosmetics industry. So she defined herself by her looks and her appearance.
Right.
And when she lost the breasts, the hair to cancer, her beauty, quote unquote, it kind of shattered her. And I grew up with that in the household. Just her and I. And as a teenager, like all teenagers, we're always ashamed of our parents, but I was like doubly ashamed of my mom because of how she looked. So I didn't really bring friends at home. I was kind of ashamed to walk with her on the street. And I really loved her and I wanted to care for her, but it was that kind of push-pull of that created a lot of guilt in me. Right. How could I be ashamed of my mom when she did everything for me and she's sick on top of it? And it was that kind of guilt that was what kept me going for all those years, because as you know, guilt is a powerful emotion that keeps you going for years. And so it was that I wanted to deal with Happy Face. I wanted to kind of get over that part of my life or come to terms with it or get over my shallowness. And I think that was the kind of emotional core of the film as Joelle and I embarked on it.
Right. Well, that I lost my first wife to breast cancer.
Oh, damn.
So I know a lot of what you're saying. The hair loss, the loss of confidence. She wasn't a model or anything, she was a teacher, same as I was at the time. But she lost a lot of confidence, and it was things like she had a lot of radiotherapy, and that damaged her shoulder joint. And she was only short. She was about a foot shorter than me. So she had to actually stand on a chair because she couldn't write at the top of the blackboard and things like this. And, it was a long 5 years from start to finish because it was very aggressive because she was so much younger. But anyhow, I must admit the scenes with the mum and the breast cancer did sort of ring a lot of bells for me. So anyway,
sure.
But that's interesting how you came about at it from that angle. One of the questions now, this came from Jill, senior editor. And it was, how do you go about casting a film like this? There's something she's called a cattle call. I'm presuming that's a cinema name, is it? It's not. She's not just being rude. I don't know what a cattle call is, but how do you go about casting? How do you go about approaching people? It's like...
It was a mix of things. Honestly, it was a mix of things, Rob. We contacted an organization called About Face, which helps people with facial difference, just like changing faces in the UK. And they put us in touch with David Roche, who's well known in the community and who's a speaker, a humorist. And so, or I think our casting director contacted his agent, or it was through the organization. And then we talked to David, and once David was interested, it opened the doors, and we did a little acting workshop at About Face, just to talk about acting and to because it's fun to have an acting workshop. It helps with self-confidence and public speaking, and left it to people if they wanted to hear more about the film to contact us. And so that was one avenue. The other avenue was we put in a call on TV. And then somebody who knew Cindy Nicholson, who played Buck, talked to her about it. And then we went to call agents in LA and New York. And I think that's how we got in touch with Alison Midstokke and in New York. And ER in LA was a bit of a chance. We were auditioning for other people. And they just brought him in, and he didn't really fit any role. But then he was a rapper, and he was such a sweet, soft-spoken guy that was like, oh, we got to find a role for ER. And Debbie is in Montreal, and she was well known from TV and film. And so I contacted her agent.
Yeah.
And then it was a mix of word of mouth, because it was hard at first for the first year. And then when word got around all the way to the UK, to Changing Faces, or elsewhere in Canada or in the US, I had people with facial differences emailing or calling me from everywhere wanting to be part of the movie, but we didn't have any more roles, or we didn't have any more money left to actually, bring them over, fly them, house them, shoot.
Yeah, sure.
So it started out slowly, but then it became increasingly easier. And one thing was important with Joelle and I, we soon realized that, we had an idea with our characters, right? We had certain characters had certain conditions or accidents or illnesses. But once we found people, it was better to find people with charisma and then rewrite their characters based on who they were in real life to get the magic.
I was going to say, once the casting started, really, we were just in rewrite mode. It was kind of like, okay, Cindy, we knew she was great, and where could she fit? So her original role was written for our father and son. But when we heard her real story with her mother, it's like, oh my God, this is like, yes, we've got to get this. Alison's story about being a hand model, I think the original one was she was like a PhD student or something, but it's just like, it was just so much more visceral, this young, beautiful woman wanting to further her career and just the setbacks that she was having. In the casting, it was just kind of like the synergistic. It informed the film. So
it's true.
I have to say that every actors were so generous about their own story. We had moments in the shooting that were. We cried a lot, but it was really, really touching. Like, everybody just jumped in, and delivered like some part of themselves that, for me, playing with them was a beautiful gift, and I felt honored to be, in the front row of their stories like that, and I think that we feel that in the movie. A lot. Like, sometimes, we're talking about Cindy with her mother, and sometimes, like, she used to say, to tell her story, and after we cut, and I was like, no actors in the world could play it like that,
Yeah.
It was so real, and it was, there were great moments like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, a sad note, Cindy passed away, Rob. If not, she would be here, but she passed away last summer of cancer.
Oh, no.
In the middle of COVID, yeah, which was really quick and sudden and sad. And I think she touched us all because she, as Debbie says, she was really raw with her mom, and her story in the film is really based on her real life.
Yeah.
And
gosh,
she was a ball of emotion, c'est vrai. Huh? She was always like laughing and crying and switching.
Yeah.
And we got used to it. It was like, okay, it's cool.
Oh, that is so sad. I mean, that is. I said I've done another one of these with a director, Shay Sterling. He's done the film Alien Addiction. And at the end, there was a dedication to one of the actresses in it, and she died suddenly very young. And it seems like I'm not going to do another one of these again in case somebody else is going to die off. I don't know if it's me or what. Oh, anyway. So, David, it seems like you were part of the driving force behind it all. We all do. We all love David Roche.
I'll take that as a big compliment. Thank you. Yeah, well, when Alex first approached me, I read the script and I thought, holy shit. This is not for me. This is too raw.
Yeah.
And once I met Alex and I kind of heard really his deeper vision and just saw him as a human being, I trusted him. Right. And so I said, I'm on board. And that trust was fully justified. All the things that people are saying are very true. And, there's sometimes an intonation that the people with facial differences are being taken advantage of. That is totally false. Totally false. Yeah. At any point in time, we were asked to be some part of the fullness of our humanity. And I felt it was one of the best experiences of my entire life. And all the people you see on screen were really an important part of that.
Yeah. Wow. One of the things I did notice watching the film was some of the characters seemed to disappear partway through. I mean, Dangerous Dave disappeared on screen. He said, "This is too dangerous for Dave," and went. But there was Leslie, it was Pauline Beale, and Ronald, the sommelier with the nose cancer. They must sort of disappeared after the big scene with Alison and Robin in the restaurant. There was the big throwing all the rubbish around and the run through the streets, and we never saw those two after that. Was there a reason for that, or?
Yeah, it was too much for them.
Yeah.
So there were probably some scenes on the cutting floor where they actually say, like, we're done, we're out of here, goodbye, thanks very much. And Dangerous Dave was the only one that you actually get to see. But the idea is it's like just a loyal core group because they so believe in Debbie, I'm calling her Debbie, in her, that they're going to stick with her. But the rest of them is just kind of like them.
Yeah, because Leslie's character did seem to be almost the proper end, that she met the guys and she said, come on, let's go and have shots, And so I said, yeah, all right, come on. And off they went. So that seemed to like she's gone back into society. And then Ronald, Pierre Rivet, is it?
Yeah.
He had that scene where he just stood up and looked at them without his nose. And I would have wanted. I would have liked to have seen him, come to terms more with that, saying, this is me. This is my face.
He never found out if he got his nose that the dog ate.
Yeah. No, to be honest, I don't think he'd want it back after that. But I do remember during my wife's cancer treatment, going to the cancer hospital in Manchester, and there was a guy who'd had and they'd sent him out just with an elastoplast over the hole, and that was it. And I just thought, oh my God, they're sending people out like that. But I mean, his prosthesis was very good. It took me a bit until he was speaking to actually notice it. Some of the angles, you couldn't see that he was actually wearing a prosthetic nose.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, as Joelle said, it was we had our screenwriting reasons, our narrative reasons for them exiting. That sometimes you go to a workshop, you go to something, and you realize it's not for you because many reasons. And in the case of the story, they realized that the Vanessa character, was not exactly the best above board social therapist, and that this Stan guy was like an imposter. So they bailed. And even production-wise, we're like, carrying all these extra actors with their arcs, and it would have taken a lot of screen time away from the main story or the main storylines, and so we just needed to have them exit, and we did it in a kind of a brutal way, I guess, at times, and I guess we were comfortable with that. We're just like, okay, out, and
it was a way to raise the stakes for the ones who decided to stay.
Yeah. This is what happens. Do you toe the line or you're out?
Yes.
Alison, haven't heard much from you recently. I thought Maggie was brilliant, which is down to you, of course. And there was the line when Vanessa was saying, I'm just as badly treated as you are and all this, and you came back with, I can't go down to the gym and work this off. I thought that was fantastic. And I noticed you are actually a hand model as well.
Well, I've done hand modeling, and I've also worked with, artists, photographers, fashion photographers throughout the years. At first I was doing it as a hobby. Mm-hmm. Then it developed into a career. And I never thought I would get into film. I did not want to be in a spotlight, share my story. I thought it would be dreadful for me to put myself out there like that. Originally, I wanted just to be in the fashion industry creating art. Mm-hmm. So I did not want people to judge my face. I wanted people to judge my art the way I dressed.
Yeah.
But along the way, I fell into film, and doors started opening. And the work I do, I want to inspire and educate people that there's different kinds of beauty. Beauty is different, and different is beauty. When my mother was telling me when I was a little girl, be thankful for what you have and use what you got. Yeah. So that's what I did, and same with David and the other actors out there. They use what they got to make the best of what they have.
Yeah, wow. One of the things Jill was saying as well, that she was really liked. There's a few shots of your portfolio, modelling portfolio, and they were brilliant.
Thank you.
If it called for it, would you have done a nude scene in the film?
Me?
Would you have gone nude in the film if it had been asked of you, because you wanted to be a full body model?
Yes. So I'm sorry. What's your question? I'm hard of hearing. I apologize.
Sorry, it's all right. Would you have done a nude scene? Would you have got naked? I'm trying to make the sound better.
Partial nudity. I would only do partial nudity.
Yeah.
But not full nude. That's a little extreme. But if they pay me the big bucks, I don't know.
You did look good in the stockings, I must admit, but that's only as an old man saying. Debbie.
Hi.
Did you feel, when you were saying those lines about, you're just as marginalised as everybody else, how did you actually feel? Did you actually feel that genuinely? Or was it something that you thought the character was saying rather than what you thought?
Well, no, I think I think Vanessa thinks it, feels it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I do too. I had my concerns with beauty standards throughout my life, and yeah, I think me personally, I always felt a bit like an outsider as well,
Yeah.
And I think that I put that in Vanessa, and that's what's interesting about her, that she tries, and I feel like that in my real life, when I do interviews here or I go on TV shows and stuff, I'm that big fat girl who say that we're all beautiful and stuff, and I think it, I feel it, but there's always a part where you still feel like an outsider, and Yeah, that's in Vanessa too. That she really like genuinely wants to help them, but she still has her own issues to deal with.
I think it's interesting. I mean, I've managed to lose 4.5 stone, which might not 63 pounds.
Okay.
Over the last couple of years because of health reasons. But the thing is, like, I'm quite tall. I'm 6'2", because my parents were tall. But the parents were also wide, so everybody's happy for me to take the genetic height, but not the genetic weight. So I'm wondering if there's some kind of genetic component that means I put on weight easier because it's what my parents did, and and so on. Yeah. So maybe there is something in holding the weight that is something beyond our control. I don't know.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Otherwise, we would all look the same, and
we'd all eat Mars bars all day long.
Exactly.
Hey, Dad.
Of course.
I want to.
And yeah, totally. And
could I say something?
Yeah. Go ahead, David.
I think that one of the reasons why this film can be so compelling is that, from my experience as a speaker and solo performer on stage for 30 plus years, so many people come up to me afterwards and say, "Oh, it was terrible for me when I was 12 because my little finger was crooked."
Yeah.
Things like that. Everybody feels disfigured in some way, at some time, to some degree. And that's why people can relate to Happy Face. And why people with disabilities of all sorts really should have and do have a rightful place on screen.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. Yes, well done, David.
Thank you.
I mean, one of the questions I had written down, because I started scribbling all this before it was all thing, would have been aimed at Jocko Iaruz. As a burn survivor, so somebody who came into the community later in life, I wonder if that put him in a different place. Is there kind of like a level of handicaps and, how people see themselves? Is it like from birth as opposed to a latecomer?
Anybody could. I mean, I've read things about that from testimonials, and I've heard people talk about it. I guess from what I've read, it depends. The people who had a look of before and after, apparently, from what I read, had to grieve for that old look. Right. But I know in the case of BR, it happened when he was very young.
Ah, right.
I think it happened when he was 10 or 11.
Yeah. I'm taking his character's life story then rather than his real life story.
Right. Yeah. No, but his character was mirrored on our imagination, but also stuff we've read that, if something happens before and after, naturally there's a grieving part that we have to go through, whether it's a breast, whether it's a leg, whether it's the face, from what I understand.
So Alex, I'm thinking about Dangerous Dave and, I can't remember his name. Keith. So, and Pierre aussi, it came to them later in life, and there's, like I said, so much on the cutting room floor, those scenes, those first couple of days of shooting, where it really was just like this open therapy session that Vanessa was running. But people were talking about, you all were talking about your real lives. And so you hear stories from Dave, from Keith and, I'm losing their names.
Dan.
Yeah.
It's true. Keith, I forget his character name. I think it was... Anyway, it's true, Joel. Thanks for bringing it up. You're right. Like, these guys whatever they had happened to them when they were grown men, whether it was a car accident or face cancer, and it really affected them. Like, they were, their lives really took a turn for something different. And I know Keith was way more reclusive. This was a guy who was very muscular, good-looking, quote-unquote, outdoorsy guy. Mm-hmm. And he had this terrible ordeal with face cancer that got misdiagnosed and became worse and worse and worse. and he ended up just being at home and not seeing anybody and not going out, and then Dangerous Dave, he was kind of a hotshot, used to drive fast cars, and was kind of a player, quote unquote, according to his own words. And when he got his car accident, it really sent him on a spiral of, I guess, depression, because he lost all his jobs and had trouble with his moods because of probably the medication too and the psychology of it. And it was tough for him. It's been tough for him from what they told us.
Even with Cindy Nicholson, her disease had progressed over years.
Right.
For women like myself, I was born with the syndrome. So I've learned to deal with it when I was a little baby. But over the years, my confidence improved because I think, I've had surgeries that helped me look better. And so it's very interesting when we all sat down together. I was also being educated and learning. And I can't imagine if you are, someone successful like Dave, like Dangerous Dave.
Yeah.
Had it all, then all of a sudden his life changed overnight. Or with Cindy, it's very different for all of us. So I thought it was very interesting when we all sat in a room learning about each other's fears and experiences. It was very therapeutic, very educating experience.
Wow, yeah. I mean, one of the questions are you anything like your character? But obviously you've answered that now, in that a lot of it is based on real life and your own experiences and things like that. So that's that. What I'm thinking now is what we want is go to DVD with loads of extras on it. It's going to be a 2 or 3 disc set with all the extras and all the outtakes, because it sounds absolutely phenomenal. Everything. I mean, and I appreciate that you can only have, so much time to get the story told. But there seems to be so much more that's. You could almost make another film by the sounds of it. It sounds brilliant, though. It is. I mean, one of the things that. Oh, right. Okay. Sorry. Zoom just said that I was running out of time. I've got 40 minutes or something. But they've taken that bar away so we can keep on going. If that's all right. I mean, if everybody wants to run away now, that's the excuse. Yeah, I totally forgot what I was going to say now.
I hadn't thought of the DVD. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Movie.
Yeah. I mean, I've been lucky enough to get the link to watch it. I mean, is it going out on release? Is everybody else going to get the chance to see it?
It's being released today in the U.S.
Oh, wow.
In the United States. There's no real cinemas anymore, so it's virtual, but still it's on iTunes and Hulu and all these streaming services. In the UK, still not yet. We still haven't gotten a sales agent and a distributor.
Right.
I mean, to be frank, it's been a tough film to sell or to distribute because it's not a film about cancer and facial difference is not a sexy sell for the film industry. And we're not really a genre film, even though we've been getting a lot of play in genre film festivals. It's a drama, and so it's been hard to it's been hard to categorize by distributors or sales agent into a particular category of what it is really Well, it's not it's not a genre film. It's not a pure drama either. It's not a pure advocacy film or a documentary. So it's kind of like. So the distribution has been slow, but we hope that with the US, hopefully there'll be enough of a spark there that it's gonna help with some international sales.
Well,
the review in the New York Times, they addressed that right at the top of the piece. It's just kind of like, I don't know how to classify this film, but here's why you should see it. So that's a good one. If you have that link, check out that review.
I mean, because I linked my review of the film to IMDb on the external links thing, so If you ever want to see what I think about your little film, it's all there.
Sure, you better see it.
But no, it's a good review. I as I say, I really enjoyed it. What else have we got? Maybe for the cast, I suppose. How do you think your characters would have gone on after the film? How do you think they developed? If there was a Happy Face 2, where would they be?
Question. I'm not sure that Vanessa would be keep going on doing therapy.
Yeah.
I think right now she's probably taking care of herself first.
She seems to be getting lost in the online world of, was it some adventure game, Dungeons and Dragons or something? Something of that sort.
Yeah, maybe Stan invited her once. But no, like at the end she gets fired, and yeah, I think she's taking time for her to solve her own issues, and yeah.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
Otis, where would Otis be, and where would Maggie be?
Maggie, you go. Oh, okay. Well, I told Alex I would do a sequel.
Yeah.
If I had sex scenes.
Oh, right. Okay.
Sex scenes.
So
he just laughed at me. He said, "No, it's not gonna happen."
No, I did not say that.
With Vanessa.
I did not say that, Dave. I said I remember, and Cindy used to tell me the same thing. She wanted more scenes. I said we should do a kind of a weird fiction like short TV series, like a web series, where we'd fuck up with the reality and the fiction part, where each character would kind of like go back and want to revisit alternative versions of the film where their characters would do something else. Like, so David Roche would want to be Otis, but have more scenes with younger women and stuff like that. Or Cindy would get more scenes. It would be kind of an alternate reality version. So we were just like, I think one night we were brainstorming on that stuff.
Oh, like, okay. I'm in, Alex.
Yeah, okay.
What about Alison? What about Maggie? Where would she want to be, do you think?
Yeah, I see Maggie, she in the film, she seems to have a lot of confidence.
Mm-hmm.
I see her getting a lot of gigs in modeling, like full body shoots. I see her like going to Toronto. I see her working with a lot of unusual, bizarre artists. That's what I see for Maggie. That's all I could say. And then she may get involved with this, eccentric bad boy artist or something. I don't know. That's what I see.
Oh, right. Okay. Half written for you. There you go. So, I know it's limited release. It's only just coming out in the States. Has there been much public reaction to the film so far?
I don't know about like on a broad scale, but just the experience that we had on the festival circuit, it was wonderful. I mean, I know these guys went to some screenings where there was like, I know in one place there was a standing ovation for like 10 minutes or something. Slam dance. Just in screenings that I've been to, even here, I showed it somewhere locally here, and it's just like, people are just, oh my God, like everyone has to see this film because, they talk about initially, like it's difficult at first because then they're having to face their own prejudices, really. But then, like once you get it, they're on board with the characters and they're just like 100%. So it's, can't say that it's a feel-good movie, but it's a good message. So this is the issue, right? Distribution. How many films are out there? Like you said, you've seen 500 in the last year. Like, how do we get it out there? This is great. It's a great step now that there's distribution. But just like to start the conversation. I mean, there's so many things that the pandemic has just opened up doors for. Let's start talking about Me Too. Let's start talking about racial equity. All these other things. Like let's talk about it. Just sit down and talk about it. So this would be I think, a great way to start a conversation, like a broader conversation.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I mean, because the thing that got me was, I suppose it's the old wishy-washy liberal, sandal-wearing Guardian reading type, but it was the reaction of the other people to the cast that I felt most uncomfortable with. And it was one of those you really want to stand up and cheer when Otis gives it back to that guy in the cafe. And that was a fantastic scene. And I was going, yes, go on, my son. You know. So
that was Alex called that one.
Yeah.
He made me do that.
It was brilliant, though. But I mean,
the inner monster.
Yeah, but I mean, it is what some of those people need. It's like in the swimming pool when Stan says, "Look, what you've got to do is you've got to make them feel as uncomfortable as you're feeling right now."
Yeah.
You know, and it did dawn on me: do people still do that sort of thing? Because one of the other things that I watched was, Freaks from 1932.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, back then, like they say, it's a different age and all this, but you do wonder, do people still react like that when they see somebody who's different? And, I struggle to think, does it happen? I mean...
I have something to say about that.
Yeah.
I started on stage as a comedian 32 years ago.
Wow.
And how things have changed. And then I travel, I tour. And I found that one thing that happened in cities, everybody looked weird anyway.
Yeah.
You go to a small town, you go to, the Maritimes, and there, they had not seen anybody who looked so different.
Right.
So
yeah.
there they were shocked. But now, with TV, with the internet, with so much social media, things really have changed. It's not total, and some of it becomes, as you say, Rod, can be wishy-washy liberal stuff, but it's radically different over the last third of a century, in my experience.
Right.
And part of that is I have gained confidence in myself.
Right.
So I strut and swagger. And
and why not?
And that makes a difference too.
Yeah.
And I think that the violence moved from the streets to the social media. There's it's
yeah.
I see a lot of intimidation and violence on social media, and the results are the same, but I think that people are more courageous behind the screen now than in a pizzeria, like in a movie.
Yeah.
Oh.
Is that somebody's phone ringing? I don't know who it is.
Say hi.
Dave.
One thing, Dan, the CEO at